Hello, welcome to my Thursday afternoon Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me, everyone who's come to join me. Here is the card that I'm going to make today. I should tell you the story about this card again too. This card is based on an idea. A customer sent me a photo of a card she wanted me to make. And I do love a challenge. So she sent me a photo and said, Julia, do you think you could make this and teach me how to make it? The photo was, I think she found it on Pinterest or something. So I looked at the photo and tried to work it out. I took it to my team and said, hey, you guys, do any of you know this fold? Have you done this card? And they were able to tell me that it was actually an easel fold when they looked at the photo, something which I didn't notice at first. But they weren't able to, no one had actually made it before. So I just looked at the photo, I played around, and then I've come up with this fold, which fits, let me show you, this is my box of tricks here. It fits into a standard envelope, okay? So I've made it to fit into our envelopes, folds flat, and then when you get it, you can stand it up, and it has a lovely little anchor and stands up, and you've got the beautiful little decoration on the front. The inspiration for the colours for this card actually came from this page right at the front of the mini catalogue, this one here. So this is why I've chosen the balmy blue and the garden green, a little bit of cherry cobbler. So this was my inspiration for this card here, okay? And actually, these colours are inspired by this gorgeous paper, which is our fundraising paper in this catalogue from Stampin' Up. So this paper is called A Walk in the Forest, and it has lovely balmy blue and trees. It does have bears and garden green and cherry cobbler. I actually have used, and it should go on my blog right now, this paper to make a scrapbook page from our camping trip where we went to the Bunya Mountains, where there are lots of Bunya pines and also Norfolk pines. I cut out all of the bears, of course. There's no bears in Australia like that, but the trees were excellent for my scrapbook page. But the story about this paper is it's a fundraiser, so for every pack that's sold in Australia, $4.25 goes to the Anglicare fundraiser for Tots and Toys, which is really rather wonderful. So that's why I originally bought it, because it was a fundraiser, because I like doing fundraising things. And then I decided to use it to make my scrapbook page, but I'm also going to use it and use the colour inspiration. And when you look at your designer series paper, on the back, on the packaging, it always tells you the colours: balmy blue, cherry cobbler, garden green, old olive, pecan pie, and pretty peacock. And those colours are also written in our catalogue as well, if ever you want to know the colours to use with your designer series paper. Anyway, here is my measurements for my card, and I am going to be using my trimmer as well, so I've got my trimmer here as well. I will, if you are interested in getting the PDF for this card, which includes the measurements, just please send me a comment in the comments below and request the PDF, and I'm happy to email it to you. Okay, so the card base is the length of the card stock, and then I've just scored it at 7.5 and 15. So it's not quite even, but that's okay because it's going to stand up like that. So you score it and fold it again to create the easel like that. Okay, so that's just your card base with your thick white. And then I have done all my die cutting early, so I'll be very, very carefully putting all of this actually on there, I think, to keep it safe, because those little bits of berries from the Magical Meadow dies are very tiny. Very, very tiny. So I'm popping all them just at the top up there. Okay, so then I've got my layers. So this one layers onto the center of this one, which layers onto the center of this one for the card front, this piece on the front. And then this piece here is for the box. It's already been pre-scored at 3 centimeters, 4.5 centimeters, and then 12.5 centimeters and 14 centimeters. Okay, so that's the little box that goes onto the front of the card. Okay, like that. This is my pieces for my greeting. Just a little bit of white and green. Okay, and then I've got my layers for the front of my little box like that. And then these 2 layers you need for the inside of your card on the card base, because when you do the easel you require these to create the anchor for your easel to stand up inside like that when you've got the box attached. Okay, so that's where those all go. But the first step is to create this lovely pointy design. I am going to, if you stick with me later on, create exactly the same card, because I've cut out 2 kits and using this lovely A Walk in the Forest paper to go with it as well. And that'll make it much quicker, easier card. But this one, so this card here is 8 centimeters by 14 for the card front. And because it's 8 centimeters, I'm just going to measure half of the 8 centimeters. You can do this with a ruler and a pencil, but I'm just going to use my scoring blade and put a little score mark there. 8 centimeters. Can you see that? Let me, is that in focus? Probably not. I'll go down a bit. There you go. So that's 4 centimeters, half of 8 centimeters. And then I'm going to go down on each side 3 centimeters. So I'm going to put a little score mark there and there. Now, if you want to, you can use a pencil and rule a line from your 4 centimeter to your 3 centimeter line down there. I'm just going to use my Take Your Pick tool and rule a line, which I'll be able to see, and I'll use my trimmer to cut it. Okay, here we go. Line it up with that 3 centimeter down the side and the 4 centimeter across the top, because that's exactly halfway. And rule a line there with my Take Your Pick tool. I'm just going to cut that off with the trimmer here, making sure I've got my, whoops, if I just anchor it there so it stays nice and safe. There we go, nice and straight. Slice that off. And then this one. And, sorry, didn't mean to go too far south. Yeah, line that one up. Okay. Now, because I'm in essence a person who doesn't like things to be too complicated, what I did then was to use this as a template, to create exactly the same point. So I'm lining it up in between my 2 score lines. So this is in between in the 8 centimeter section. This is for the little box on front. And again, I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to rule a line there and there. And this is probably much easier to cut with scissors than using the trimmer, just because you go to a point in the middle. There we go, there's that one. And then our snips are really lovely and precise, which is great. Okay, so then I've got my basic front and my little box there. Okay, then to do the other layers, I originally was going to do some, highfalutin mathematics and all the rest of it, but it just was too hard. So this is the next layer. I'm going to whoosh it up to the very top there. So that point is at the top, so I've got extra, making sure it's straight there. And then with my snips, trim off each sides of the point. There we go. Let's have a look, see how that looks when we slide it down. There you go. And then the same again with my balmy blue. It goes on the inside of the garden green. So I'm going to push it right up to the very top of that point, keeping it straight. Okay. And then flip it over and then cut those two edges off to create the point at the top there. There we go. And so then we've got our balmy blue layer inside our garden green layer, inside our white layer. Thank you to everyone who's watching. It's lovely that you're all here. I'm very excited to share this with you. Okay, so that's the layers for that one. Now for the layers for the inside, exactly the same philosophy. This green one goes here, okay, but I'm just going to push it right up to the top so that it's level across the top there, making sure that's nice and central, and then snip, okay. Snip there, holding it very firmly so I don't change the position of it, and snip there, okay. And then when I slide it back down again, it's exactly the right shape inside. Now there is a right way and a wrong way. No matter how precise you try to be as a human, if you flip it over, it probably won't fit as well, although that looks pretty good, as the way that you've actually cut it, okay? So it always looks much better the way you've cut it. And the same with the balmy blue. That one goes inside there. So slide it up so it's level with the top, where those other points are, okay? And then flip it over and then cut. There you go, one there and one there. So I know it's a lot of mucking around making all these pointy bits, but it does look pretty spectacular when you put it together. So there you go. There's that inside there and then that inside there. Now what I did next on this was to emboss it. So I'm embossing that one, making sure I know which way is up. I wonder if this will fit both of them. Nope. So I have to emboss them separately. So there's the front there. I'm just going to quickly emboss them. You can have a look at the measurements while I'm doing that. My machine is just over here. Okay, that's the front one done with the beautiful distressed tile embossing folder, and then that one. And then also what I did do on the on my other card was just to emboss half of the panel for the front. So the way you do that is I'm just lining it up there right on the very edge. I'm going to layer it into my die cutting machine with my grey platform and the other platform coming right to that very edge, so that you don't emboss the whole thing and you just get that lovely little embossed edge. Hello everyone for joining me. I haven't seen everyone's who's here, but it's lovely that you're here with me. I'm really excited to be able to share this with you. Okay, so that's all my embossing and all of the measuring done. Just pop this over here. Now we can just start sticking it together. It's actually not too, well, a little bit complicated, but not too complicated to stick together. All right. First of all, I'll layer my garden green layer on first. Put a bit of seal there. Okay. And you'll notice I've kept them all with the same way I cut them out, so that they all are the right way around. And then a bit of seal on my distressed tile embossed balmy blue piece. There we are. One there. Okay. All right, so that one's done. I'll just set that aside. Now my little box piece. Make sure I've got this around the right way. Oh, I let that fall off. I think it's that way. I think. Goodness. You'll see I am not particularly a precision sort of card maker. I like things that are not too complicated. All right, and this one here, and this goes in there. Okay, all right, so this little box here now gets attached to the back of this panel here before we put it onto the card. So I need to put my adhesive on this part and fold that, hang on, this way. Fold that this way, so that one folds right around there. Okay, so then I've got my little box there at the front, and then adhesive on this piece. And once again, I need to make sure that that is nice and flat just on that very first score line, and fold that over there. I might just burnish that edge because it wasn't quite fitting out. Okay, there we go. So there you go. There's your box on the front of your card, and it folds both ways to fold into your envelope. And then once you've done that, because it's an easel card, you put your adhesive all on this front panel here, all over that, and line it up right along with that edge there. There we go, and stick that on. And there you go, you've got your little box on the front that folds flat to fold in your card, and then it's ready for embellishment. Now, as I said before, you need to have not just one mat on the inside, but two, because this bit here acts as your anchor. You want, because you've got the little box here, you can't just anchor on the edge of your greeting because it covers up part of the words. So you need to have your anchor in the middle, and that's where we're creating this with the two sorts of sets of tiles. All right, so I'll put my balmy blue here, if you know what I mean. So we've got, this one is 7 by 7, the balmy blue. Oh, there goes the end of my seal. I just need to get a refill. Here we go. Didn't even realise it was getting to the end. Undo my refill. These are so easy to refill, actually, thank goodness. Here we go. Just check that I've got no excess adhesive just around the entrance there. Right, pop you in large, centre, small, and clean off any excess adhesive there around the opening because it tends to build up there. All right, my seal is very, very well used looking, isn't it? Not particularly clean, but works well. There we go, but it's clean around the entrance so that it will roll well. There we go. Okay, so there's my first little part of the mat for inside my card. And of course, you can just leave it like that. That will work quite well as your anchor for your card. I just wanted to finish it off and make it look complete and also have a pretty place for you to write your greeting on your card, okay? So that's why I've got the two lots. But if you prefer, you can just have the one there. It absolutely is not essential to have the two. That's just a Julia thing. Okay, so there we go. We've got that, and then that acts as your anchor there, okay? So in actual fact, it looks pretty cool, but it's actually not a very tricky card to create. Now, because it's a Christmas one, I'm going to put on May the Season of Sparkle Bring Joy and Delight from the Magical Meadow stamp set. It's got beautiful images, this stamp set, but actually why I chose this stamp set for this project is because of the dies, in actual fact, because I do love the dies. There we go. Nice and light on my garden green, okay, and pop that on there. Oops, over a bit. And some dimensionals. Excuse me, reaching across in front of you there. And this is just for the front of the card. Okay, may this season of sparkle bring you joy and delight. That pops in there. And then all of these guys, I stick them on where I want to camouflage mistakes and bits and pieces. I've got a little mark there from my Take Your Pick tool, so one will definitely be stuck across there. So I'll just bring in my silicone mat to put the glue on so that I don't create mess everywhere. I've cut out a few here. I don't know whether I'll need all of them or not. So, oh, too much, Jules, too much. My glue is running. It's a hot day today. So I'm just going to pick up some of that glue from over there. Ugh, I don't like sticky glue. It stresses me out. So, too much glue. Rightio. That'll do for the moment. Excuse me. So I'm going to pop one in the middle. There we are. And this one definitely over this bit that I want to camouflage. I wonder if there's glue behind that branch that I don't want there. That will be interesting. Now, this one might be a bit too long, so I might just trim that there and pop this bit there. There we go. Yuck. I wonder if I could pop this one here as well. Right, I'm just going to squish them down. Squish, 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 squish. There we are. And if the glue is behaving, I'll just put some tiny dabs on. Tiny, 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 tiny. On the little dots that are already there on the die cut. And this works very nicely for the cherry cobbler dots that I've already die cut. So with my Take Your Pick tool, and I'll just pick them up, stick them down. So I've screwed the end of my Take Your Pick tool so I can do this two-handed without getting my hands into any of that glue, because I don't like the feel of it on my fingers. And the putty works beautifully at picking up all those tiny, tiny die cuts. Okay. I like the way that the cherry cobbler berries really, oh goodness, I forget, really lift the whole thing when you stick them on. So those lovely fern fronds look awesome, but then when you put the cherry cobbler berries on, it looks fantastic. It looks like I'm doing surgery. I feel like I'm doing surgery. But I was never meant to be a surgeon. Yuck. And one more. There we go. Yuck. I think that's enough. And the last thing is to add some, now I need this here, back in here, some silver sequins to make it look even prettier. And these already have adhesive on the back, so they are super easy to use and stick on. There we go. Whoops. And one more down there. there we go. So that's my Christmas card. Okay, using the Magical Meadow dies. These are the Magical Meadow dies. The Magical Meadow dies have these. There's your little berry dies. So it has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 6, 8, 10, 11 little berries cut out all at the same time, which is very efficient for your cutting. Now, would you like to see the same card made in a much, much simpler way? I've got another pack here, and we won't make this one for Christmas. We'll make it for another occasion. It's got my little, confetti. If you'd like, remember, if you'd like me to send you the PDF of this card that you can use for all the measurements and everything, and you can follow along with this video as well, just send me a comment and I can email that to you. No problems at all. And I have the PDF for the pointy one there. Okay, all right. Now, once again, let's start from the base, the card base. And it's scored in half and then in half again to create your easel. Okay, I'll just burnish those. Yes, please, Anita, I'm happy to send that to you, doll. No problems at all. And I'd love, when you do make the card, I'd love to see a photo of your finished project too. Okay, so there's your basic easel. And card front, and card front. And this time, because we're putting the trees on the front, I won't do the pointed tip on it, but just a much simpler version. And we're using the trees from A Walk in the Forest paper, which is exactly where I got the inspiration from to make the card originally. Okay, so there's my 3 layers for my card front. Here is the little box for the front of the card. All right, and I've got my garden green layer here, and the designer paper again. There we are, like that, and folding on all of those score lines that I've already folded, and get my adhesive all over those flaps and on the back of my card front. Stick that on. And then fold that over, and that other flap there. Okay, so there's a little box on the front, all done, and it folds sideways so you can fit it into your envelope. And then for the front of your easel, just all over that front flap of your easel, put your seal or your adhesive there, and then position this one, line it up with the base. It fits exactly. Make sure it's straight at the top as well. Stick that one on there. Okay, there. And then I did cut this out with the balmy blue as well. So we have to have the trees on the front, but we need somewhere for you to write your greeting. So on the inside one, we'll just have plain balmy blue to write on the card. Okay, so layer this one up onto the garden green, and pop that at the front of my card. That will work as the anchor. And then this one's for the greeting panel, writing. To my dear friend, I hope you enjoy this card. This card could probably be fairly generic. I could use it for almost any occasion, and probably most genders too, I think. There we go. So there is a much simpler version of the same card, still with the little box. I still think it needs some fun bits and pieces on it, so we might put a couple of those on as well. What do we think of the straight box and the straight fold compared to the pointy? The pointy is quite spectacular and rather lovely, but this is much quicker. If you're making a few of them, probably the quicker one would be easier. And for the greeting this time, because I'm not making this a Christmas card, I'm going to use Go-To Greetings. And will that one fit? This little happy birthday. Okay, where's my garden green ink gone? What did I do with it? Ah, here it is. Sorry, reaching over in the background. Thank you, Anita. I like the pointy one. Does look pretty amazing, but it's just a bit more work, a bit more cutting and preparing. Okay, and then we'll put happy birthday onto our mat and some dimensionals. Stick this one up. And you know what would be cool on this one would be a few more trees, but I do like that die. Okay, happy birthday. And let's stick some on. Come on, Julia. I just get my silicone mat and put a little bit of glue on the back of these. Don't need glue all over it because it's going to stick either way. So pop that one in there, and then this one, some bits of glue on that one. I'm being a bit more strategic this time and thinking about actually where I'm sticking it. And that one across the front. I think that should be enough. Maybe. I do have extra bits here. No, I think that's enough. So there we go. Happy birthday. And sparkle and bright, bring joy and delight. There you go. Show you that one a bit more. That's the plain one with the designer series paper doing all the heavy lifting, all the work being the interesting thing. And then here's the one with the distress tile embossing folder and the pointy measurement and the lovely sparkle. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll go back and check all the comments now and send the PDF to those people who asked me. Bye bye now. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.